Dear boomers, after your death, who is going to take care of your dog, or your cat, or your bird, or your horses? This is something I have been pondering since I read this article in the New York Times. And then yesterday, I was with my 93-year-old cousin and his son, who's about 60 something, 10 years younger than me. Um, and they suddenly said, "Well, what are you going to do? Who's going to know if you drop over dead, and who's going to take care of all your stuff?" And I said, "Well, I have a will," but I started to think about my little Mossy, who is just nearly, 1.5 at the very most. Um, as far as I'm concerned, he makes me laugh every day, and he gives me a feeling of enjoyment and joy and laughter. Not to mention that I do have longevity on my side of the family, even though I think that if I were a depressed, sick individual, I would have less of a chance of living as long as they did. So who's going to take care of little Mossy when I'm gone? I think he'll probably could live a good 15 years, at which point I will be over 75. And I don't think I will outlive him if I'm careful. If I don't fall, break a hip, or hit my head, or get cancer. All these fears. I don't believe in fear. But I do want him to be taken care of. So this article explores trusts for your animals versus putting your animal in a will. And of course, there's no guarantee that the person that you have bequeath your animal to will even live beyond a certain point themselves. So this one woman had her good friend had a sudden accident, and she died, and she had to have the animals that she had, which were horses, had to be put down, euthanized, and due to a lack of legal planning. So what happens when we are no longer able to take care of our dear, sweet, beloved souls? A pet trust is a legally binding document that designates a new guardian for your pet and sets aside funds for their care. And it does give you peace of mind, less anxiety, and more control over their future. And why do pet trusts matter? All 50 states allow pet trusts. There's a growing trend. More people consider pets as part of their family. I would go a little step further than that, because I feel that they are my spiritual guiding post. I believe that my animals are some of the most important beings I have ever met. And then they say, elder law attorney said that we have a lot of clients where the pet is the center of their universe. But it's, like I said, I go beyond that. These dogs are my spiritual North Star. So there was a trust that covered 5 cats, a dog, 2 horses, and a donkey. It included funds for the food, funds for the vet care, and other specifics. A musician insured his Amazon parrot, who could live for another 50 years, to be cared for by his cousin. And another one, a retired bank executive who set aside $15,000 for his dog Emma and future pets, with instructions for her care. Now, a will can include pets, but only goes into effect after death and may not ensure pet care. A trust takes immediate effect and continues after death, allowing caretakers to step in if the owner is temporarily or permanently unable to care for the animal. They say a will doesn't go into effect until you pass. A trust goes into effect the moment it is signed. So, in other words, you have peace of mind if you have a trust. Now, these trusts are pretty expensive. A trust can include or does include multiple roles: the grantor, the caretaker, trustee, and enforcer. Example: if someone in a will leaves $5,000 for a pet's care, the caretaker could legally take the money and abandon the pet, unlike a trust, which can be enforced. That's a little. How do the logistics work with that? It's not really said. A pet trust can involve significant sums of money, like I said, covering vet bills, covering grooming, and long-term care. But if resources are limited, simpler provisions in a will may suffice. So the detailed considerations for a pet trust are, they get into detailed instructions such as dietary preferences and medical care, including alternative methods of medicine like acupuncture, and then it outlines, you can get into their behavioral quirks and how you handle them and all and all that kind of stuff. Who decides when a pet is to be euthanized? This can be part of the trust, with specific guidelines involving caretakers and veterinarians. There's the famous example of Leona Hemsley left $12 million for her Maltese, whose name was Trouble the dog. Sheila Duncan, if you're listening, Trouble the dog. And though the court later reduced the sum to $2 million, even modest estates can lead to family disputes over pet bequests because they probably want the money. And so trusts may not be necessary for everyone. They can provide peace of mind for those who want to ensure long-term care for their pets. What this video basically wants you to consider is to think about estate planning for your dog, for your cat, for your horse, for your parrot, and consult with an attorney with options like pet trusts. So let me just say that there were some interesting comments about this article that I read. It's been up on the New York Times for a few days. This woman says, it's a very helpful article. Yes, it is. The only thing that gave her pause is the amount of $15,000 for an 8-year-old dog, and presumably for the rest of the dog's life. And dogs don't live that long. If a dog is 8, that's a little old for a dog. So this person lives in Canada, and she said pet care is extremely expensive. She said, I spent half of that in 1 year taking care of my 2 cats. The 9-year-old cat needed a root canal to prevent a tooth from getting infected. The cat needed treatment for gastritis and radiation therapy to cure a thyroid disease, plus all the routine shots, the checkups, the food, and 2 teeth cleanings, which is, of course, not necessarily even an annual fee. And pet care these days is high quality but also very expensive. She thinks, here's another comment. She adopted a shelter cat that she was told that had been owned by an elderly woman who had died. Her son brought the cat to the shelter. The cat is very sweet, and we get along fine. She said, I am a childless cat lady. She says she's 72 and the cat is now 10. I won't be getting another one when I am gone, or when the cat is gone, actually. Of course, when she's gone, she has many cats in heaven. She had another cat that lived to age 18, so I could have a few more years with her. But a friend who is younger than me has agreed to take her if I die before she does. It's best to make arrangements for your pet's care before you die so it's all settled. I will add that a friend of mine also adopted a cat that supposedly was owned by an elderly lady who died. Makes me wonder if there really are a lot of older cat ladies dying. Well, everybody dies, and a lot of these people who die do have cats, so I'm not surprised about that. Here's another comment. When I visited two elderly friends, they had a middle-aged dog and a new puppy. The next year, one friend died suddenly, while the other was in the hospital, headed for a nursing home. Suddenly, the people who had promised to take the dogs if something happened were unable to do so. It was too inconvenient. So I drove 14 hours nonstop to get them. I immediately found a home for the puppy with a young family, and the middle-aged dog is now elderly and my constant companion. This article was a wake-up call for me to make plans for my dog. And I think, like I said, my cousins yesterday were trying to help me think about my, demise in this earthly life. But I started to think about my dogs, and this article popped up. So if a lot of people who are young might worry too about their dogs dying, and maybe they thought about getting a situation where they can get foster older dogs, and then the dogs are not theirs and they don't have to worry about that part of it. So here's a pro tip. If you're an elderly person with a beloved pet and have a guardian in mind, ask that person first before legally foisting that responsibility on them. Well, of course you would. I was informed, not asked, but told that I'd be responsible for the life of my elder relative's cat once she passed. I already have 2 cats in the apartment complex that dictates I can't have any more. This is the aspect of losing this relative that stressed me out the most, because I'm a huge animal lover who fully understands the need to have my beloved pets taken care of in the way she sees fit. Also, I'm sorry, but once you hit a certain old age, you really have no business adopting cats and dogs. Please check out senior animals who have lost their humans or have endured a tough life on the street for years before encountering compassionate rescuers. They would be so grateful for a chance to live out their golden years in comfort. So, that is my little spiel for the day. There's going to be a video that shows up right here. And please subscribe. I want to get to 1,000 subscribers by the 1st of January 2025. Love to all.